Welcome to this latest update of May the 2nd, 2022, where I connect the dots between Bible prophecy and current events. I appreciate you coming and allowing me to help you understand the last day signs, if you haven't been reading the Bible, and connecting the dots between those last day signs and where the warnings came from in the Bible. And today I want to discuss some other issues that are coming up in the news, as I often do. But if you just found my YouTube channel, I'd like to ask you to go over to my website. You see one of them right here, this BibleProphecyMan.com site. And when you're there, you can get a free download of my book. It's a documentary. I just updated it again May 1st. You scroll down, click the link right here, and the book will download to you immediately. And it has all of the prophecies, and it has the facts and evidence showing you that these last days prophecies are actually taking place in one single generation. All of them taking place at the same time, just as Jesus Christ warned in Matthew chapter 24. So to begin with, there was obviously, I've been showing you countless earthquakes, and there was another earthquake today, the earthquake 5.6 in the South Sandwich Islands. Now, I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. If any of these prophecies, these single prophecies like the sign of earthquakes, were by itself, you wouldn't have to be concerned, because that would show us that not all of the things that Jesus said would happen altogether. If they're not happening, why would you have to be concerned, right? Well, first of all, that's a really dangerous approach, because Jesus told us to keep on the watch. And he didn't say, would you please, if you have time? No, he gave us specific signs for the last days, and he said, keep on the watch for them. And so if you're not watching it, you're in dangerous territory, especially knowing that all of the signs that he prophesied about that would happen all at the same time, as I pointed out in Matthew chapter 24, they're definitely taking place. Now, one of the major signs of the last days that the Lord focused on was Jerusalem. And we know from prophecy, where's Jerusalem? Obviously, it's in Israel. We know that the last days are going to revolve around a finished prophecy, or it will finish, and that prophecy was given to us by Daniel in the Old Testament. And God had allotted 490 years specifically on the nation of Israel, that he was going to deal with Israel. And we've already been through 69 of those weeks of years. 483 years, and there's only one 7 period of time left, 7 years, that this period of time has to take place before the complete 490 years dealing with the nation of Israel, how God is dealing with the Jews, will be completed. Now, during this time of birth pangs, which I'll show you a scripture for, in the last days, we know that we're supposed to watch the news, because we're going to see these signs that Jesus told us would appear. That's why he told us to keep on the watch for them. Now, one of the major signs comes from Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. And if you've been following me, please bear with me. There are new people that may not even know anything about the Zechariah prophecy. But in that prophecy, the Lord isolates, as you could see on the screen right there, he isolates Jerusalem and what will happen to people who burden themselves. Take a look at this. It says, and in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. And again, just like in many other videos that I've made, he's talking about here all the people, including the United States. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. So that means everybody. And I don't care how close any of the nations are to Israel right now. According to the prophecy, everyone will be turning on the nation of Israel. Now, we know that if he centers on Jerusalem, Jerusalem was going to be the burden of stone. All you have to do is ask yourself this question. What is taking place in Jerusalem that is causing major crisis in many places around the world? In other words, the focusing on Jerusalem, how is it affecting these other nations? Well, if you've been watching the news, it's the holy site on the Temple Mount in East Jerusalem that is the most contested land in the complete world. Everywhere on the Temple Mount is the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews, the holy site. And there has been established a status quo, and there's a long story about how the status quo came about. And I'm not going to go into that, but let me just say that the status quo right now is Israel gave Jordan the reins of control on the Temple Mount on a daily basis. And over the years, things have changed. The Jordanians want to keep anybody off that's not Jewish because they want to have their grips on the holy place for where the Muslims, the third most holy place, on the Temple Mount. Now you have to understand there's already crises on a daily basis now going on because of the Temple Mount, because of the Jews wanting to go up and pray, the administration allowing some of the Jews to go up to the Temple Mount guided by police, the Israeli police, and it's causing havoc. Now many years ago I told you exactly what was going to happen, and it is unfolding. You can go back and watch my old videos from all the way back, and you'll see me talking about the Temple Mount area and what I believe is going to take place on the Temple Mount area and why. And I believe that the focus of the prophet Zechariah hit it right on the head. Watch what's going to take place in Jerusalem and specifically the Temple Mount. Now, why am I saying the Temple Mount? Because that's where all the action is right now between the Palestinians, Hamas, the Hezbollah. They want the Jews off completely. And there's a change going on. Now, Jesus tells us that there will be a temple that's going to be built on that Temple Mount. I'm not going to read all of these scriptures. This is why I put them up there. When you go to my website, all of these scriptures will be there. You could read this particular one, Revelation chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. It talks about a measuring on that Temple Mount area. We believe that the Lord, through this scripture, or scriptures, verses 1 and 2, shows us that as they measure there, there's enough room to build a third temple side by side of the Dome of the Rock, where the most holy place for the Muslims is, or the third most holy site. The first one is Mecca. So Jesus shows us there will be a measurement, and then we know that there will be a temple there because of the other scriptures. And again, bear with me if you're new, but for the new people, they need to see this because we're coming very close to complete fruition of these prophecies. Now in Daniel chapter 9, again in the Old Testament, Daniel talks about this confirmation that is going to take place. And I'm just going to read it and explain it, especially for the people who may have just found my YouTube channel. And he says this, "And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." Now, if you read all of Daniel, you will know that Daniel's talking about this man who is going to oppose God. And this, the one who's coming, as it says, "and he shall confirm the covenant," that is the Antichrist that Daniel is talking about. So he's going to confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, or the last 7 years that I was talking about earlier in this video. "And in the midst of the week, exactly 1,260 days, the Antichrist who makes the covenant or confirms that covenant is going to go in to, guess what? The temple that was already measured out. And as Daniel shows us, and if Jesus shows us, and Paul shows us, that this Antichrist will go into the temple. So it has to be built. So let me finish what it says here. "And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease." In other words, what Daniel is showing us here is that the Jews in the last days, they're going to start sacrificing the way they did when Jesus Christ was alive, when he was here the first time. And why would they be doing that? Well, it's obvious, because they're sacrificing for the atonement of their sins, because the third temple is standing there again. Then it goes on to say, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. And that's Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. And then in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4, you'll see a picture. When I was in Israel, there's a model of what it's going to look like. They're all ready to build this temple. Everything is ready. They don't need to do anything at all. Everything is prepared. The only thing that they need now is the okay to actually build it. And I think that what's going on with the status quo, that's the road that will eventually get the Jews to change the status quo the way it is right now, and I'm going to explain why. But this is what Paul wrote to us. Who opposeth and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, remember the guy, he will confirm the covenant. Now Paul's talking about the same he, the Antichrist. He's as God, he's going to, what? He's going to tell everybody he's God. Remember what one of the first things that Jesus said? Don't be deceived, because many will come in my name saying that I am the Christ. This is what this Antichrist is going to be doing. So that he as God sitteth in the temple of God. It has to be built. So Paul's telling us, again, the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. It's a ruse. It's fake. You talk about fake news. This is definitely the pinnacle of fake news, because this man is nothing but the incarnate of Satan himself, who will be on this earth ruling. And he has to come so that Jesus Christ can fulfill the rest of the prophecies and destroy this man at the end of that last week, 7-year period of time. So he's going to go into this temple exactly 3.5 years after he confirms the covenant. And then 3.5 years later, guess what? Jesus Christ comes back riding on that horse with the believers that have been in heaven, and Jesus comes back and he's enthroned in Jerusalem for 1,000 years. Now I've been showing you news reports continuously. Watch the Temple Mount area. Watch the crisis continue to go on, because as I said, the Muslims want to keep the Jews off. And here's a Jerusalem Post that just came out. Tensions on the Temple Mount. Tensions around the Temple Mount and Al-Aqsa Mosque have heightened in recent weeks amid clashes between Israeli security forces and Arab rioters at the site. On Saturday, Hamas, which is mentioned in the Psalm 83 wars, one of the combatants against Israel, they're going to try to destroy Israel, and they don't have any qualms of saying that we're going to destroy Israel, just like the prophecy says in Psalm 83. If you took time to read that, you would see that. So there they are, they're mentioned. Now, this leader has warned Israel against attacking Al-Aqsa Mosque, claiming that the movement would fire a barrage of 1,111 rockets in the next conflict with Israel. Now, it's not if Israel's going to have another conflict. We know that they are, because the Lord told us. Number one, he said there would be wars and rumors of wars, and we're hearing rumors of wars all the time over this Temple Mount area. But not only that, Psalm 83 shows us that these very people that are in this article are the ones who are calling for the destruction of the nation of Israel, the elimination of the Jews. This is exactly who is stating these things in the news. So you have a direct connection between the word of the Lord and what's going on. So they're threatening that they're going to launch 1,111 rockets. Now, they've been launching rockets from the Gaza and other places into Israel. So the crisis is Not magnified yet, but it's going to get magnified. It's ratcheting up. The tensions, just like the article said, getting worse. Those labor pains that Jesus talked about in the last days are ratcheting up. It goes on, our people and our nation must prepare for a big battle if the occupation does not stop attacking Al-Aqsa Mosque, said Sinwar. Harming Al-Aqsa and Jerusalem means a regional war, and we will not hesitate to make any decision with our sanctities. So here you have, again, it's very important. If you see these people that are saying exactly what the Bible warned about, why wouldn't you believe it? Now, here's another article, again, about the Temple Mount. News from Jerusalem Post. And when you go over to my website, you'll see the link. You can click the link and read the entire article. The headline, if Israel does not assert sovereignty, it will lose its opinion. So there are people in Israel now that are pushing for sovereignty, complete sovereignty by the Jews. Now, it may sound ridiculous, but the Jews already own it. They took over this Temple Mount area in 1967 after that war, and they actually own it. It's sovereign to the Jews. But Moshe Dayan, the general, gave permission for Jordan to run the day-to-day activities. He tried to make peace with the Muslims, and so over these many years, we have gone from the Jordanians controlling the day-to-day activities, but now it's really got out of hand, and the Jews are starting to push back, and this is where the status quo comes into play. It's beginning to change, and they know it. The Palestinians know it, the Hezbollah knows it, the Hamas knows it, Iran knows it, and the rest of the enemies of Israel, they know it, and they're pushing back against it. Now, there is another article, again, dealing with, guess what? The Bible points to Jerusalem. We know what the Lord revealed to us about the coming temple. They're trying to keep it away. Muslims are trying to say, no, there's no way that's temple. They're not going to be able to stop it. Sheikh indicted for incitement to terror in Temple Mount speech. It says the following. Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has called on the Palestinian people to continue their fight against Israeli security forces and condemn the policy of normalizing relations with Israel. Now, the first thing that you have to understand is there's a lot of fake news being propagated out there by Israel's enemies, saying that Israel's police force are going up there and it's their problem. They're the ones causing the riots, and that's not the case. What's happening is the Muslims have been rioting up there, desecrating their own holy site, and the police have to go up there and stop the rioting to protect the rest of the people in the area, especially at the Wailing Wall where the Jews are praying, and these stones come flying over, and it can do great damage to people below that Wailing Wall. So, it says, polls show that almost 70% of the Palestinians in the 1948 and 1967 lands and in the surrounding camps encouraged the Palestinian leaders to carry out attacks on the Zionist regime. And I've been telling you, these attacks will be coming, and they will continue to come, because they're looking for the destruction of the nation of Israel. It goes on. This is an important phenomenon because it signifies the complete preparedness of the Palestinians to confront the usurping regime, and it provides the Mujahid organizations with the freedom to take military action whenever they deem necessary, he said, while addressing the Iranian people on the occasion of the Quds Day celebrations in Tehran on April 29. Iran advocates and supports the camp of resistance. It advocates and supports the Palestinian resistance. The official website of the Supreme Leader quoted Khamenei as saying. He also condemned the policy of normalization of relations with Israel, describing it as treason. Now, what normalization is he talking about? If you watch the news when President Trump was the president, he got the Abraham Accords to be instituted. And this was some of the Arab countries like United Arab Emirates and other countries were starting now to become friendly with Israel, to come on board with Israel. And they're more moderate, and they don't mind the Jews going up to pray. And this is in the back of the minds of Iran and the rest of those Israeli enemies, because they know with the normalization at the Abraham Accords, it's likely that the status quo will change, because the moderate Arabs don't mind them going up to the Temple Mount, the Jews, to pray. And once that happens, guess what? The next step, you'll see the temple being built. Now, let me go on with this. It says, he also condemned the policy of normalization of relations with Israel, describing it as treason. Some Arab governments have asked the U.S. to accelerate the matter of solving the Palestinian issue. If they mean that before the U.S. leaves the region, it should remove any obstacles standing in the way of the Zionist regime. Then, first of all, they have behaved treacherously and have brought disgrace to the Arab world, the Iranian leader said. Khamenei added that no scheme or plan about Palestine is implantable in the absence of Palestine or against the consent of its owners, the Palestinians. In other words, what they're saying here is the Palestinians own it, okay, and they don't. And with that philosophy in mind, what they're never going to change, all you're going to do is have continued conflict. And that's what the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and the Palestinians want. They want to cause more conflict over this issue at the Temple Mount. And the reason why they want more conflict is because they believe that the conflict, when it ensues, that's how they'll defeat the Israelis. But that's not the outcome that the Lord gives to us, because we know that the real outcome will be that eventually a peace plan will be put in place. And I have no doubts in my mind that part of that peace plan that maybe the Antichrist will confirm was, go ahead, Jews, you can go up to the Temple Mount just like the Muslims, and you can start worshiping like you did in the Old Testament by building your temple, and you could start your sacrifices. It all comes together. So we just have to watch the news, and we'll see it unfold. Now, things may change down the line, but we already know what the end result is going to be. Now, moving on to another prophecy. Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. When you read verses 5 and 6, you'll see that in this passage, the Lord is really showing us that in the last days, people will have to work all day long for one small meal. The prices are going to go skyrocketing, and I've given you all kinds of information over the years, year after year, showing you how the prices are going up. And since President Biden has been president, our prices have gone through the roof, and they're continuing to go through the roof as his presidency continues. But it's very, very interesting. Jesus told us there would be famines in the last days, and there's a lot of reasons for famines. It could be just crazy weather that we've been seeing, the wars, hang-ups with transporting goods, the containers that are sitting out, for example, thousands of these containers that are sitting out in the waters of China because they're having problems with people being able to unload them fast enough. And all of these different things are causing the food prices to go up. diseases with the birds, fish, and the animals that we eat. Recently, I posted a lot of information about millions and millions of turkeys and chickens who got the bird flu. And all of these factors are causing the food prices to go up. Now today I went to the store and I was going to go buy some eggs. And I noticed that the eggs that I was buying that were like $2.20 are almost $3.99 now, almost $4. And over the years, we're seeing the major fluctuations in the prices. Now, what's very interesting to me is there was an article that came out, and I've been watching this, but this article really puts it all together. 25 mysterious fires at food processing plants across U.S., end of days food shortage. And this article talks and gives you information about all the different plants, food processing plants, that have been set on fire for one reason or another. Investigation's still going on. But, you know, if you had one or two, I could see, wow, that's a coincidence, right? But when you get 25 of these major plants that are burning up, and it seems like you have to write off the coincidence. And when you read this article, you'll see that it's going to affect the prices. When you have these many major plants burning up, the plants who help distribute food. And if they're not there, what happens to the food? You have less food, the prices continue to go up. Now, let me move to a different prophecy, because I'm putting the links there. You could read the entire article if you want. But I just wanted to show you these things are taking place, mysterious fires, and God only knows what's behind it. So in Matthew 24:12 and 1 John chapter 3 verse 4, where it talks about lawlessness in the last days. Well, just take a look at some of these headlines. We're taking back our street. Sacramento man barricades street to stop out of control crime. Every night just about now we're seeing massive crime taking place. Shootings almost every day. Here's another one. Antifa allegedly assaults Portland GOP rallygoers. Understaffed police struggle to respond. When you allow these anarchists to continue to cause these crimes without interjecting police to stop them, what do you expect is going to happen? Increase in crime. The hearts of many grow cold. I didn't even put that scripture up, but that's what the Lord warned about. Lawlessness. And it's happening. And I'm providing articles for you to connect the dots. Here's another one. January 21st this came out, but it just shows you what's happening. Homicide rates have soared nationwide, but mayors see a change for a turnaround in 2022. And there hasn't been any change. It continues. Now, what I thought is very interesting, there's a movie coming out. And I know that ever since President Trump lost the election, there's been a lot of chatter about, did President Trump lose the election or was it stolen? Well, only God knows for sure, but people are doing investigative work behind the scenes, and they're showing results of, is it possible that that election was stolen and there's something deep, deep wrong or happening inside our government that's allowing these things to take place. And there's a new movie coming out now, and it's just showing you the documents, the documentation of actual people. And it's crazy. When I looked at it, I saw people that are taking ballots. 2,000 mules, they call them. People going from ballot box to ballot box, putting in all these ballots. And it's possible, I'm saying that it's possible that this election was actually something other than a real honest election. And so leave it up to the American people to watch the documentary and make your own choice. Make your own decision on Is our government really honest, or is there some things going on behind the scenes that, you hear the word conspiracy theory, but make your own decision when you watch that movie. I would say go definitely watch that movie, because if you see the proof of these people actually doing it, and it shows you how they got the proof, it's worth watching it. Now, as we know, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 7, as you see marked right there, there's a mention about famines, which I covered already, and the labor pains of the last days. And we're watching the development of these last days signs getting worse every year. If you've been with me for these many years since I started making the YouTube and following me at my sites, you'll know that we're definitely in the days of the birth pangs that Jesus Christ talked about. Now, the prophecy about the intensity of the heat, signs from the sun of the last days, the sun scorching people with fire. We know that the Lord already revealed to us about the famines and the heat that will be coming in the last days. So you'll see the scriptures right there that identifies the prophecy. So we already know that there's been major problems all over the world about the weather changing, major droughts and famines, crazy weather. Take a look at some of these headlines. Board orders Californians to conserve water. California is one of the major nations that produce what? Food. So you can see the correlation between famine and the heat that's coming. Now, I don't care if you want to get into politics and you're saying there's global warming, it's caused by man. All I'm saying is this: there's definitely a change. I don't care who's causing it or why. All I know is it's happening. We see the change in this world with the crazy weather. Just watch the news every single night about the different major storms, the flooding, millions of people moving and having to move because of floods or catastrophes that are taking place. Here's another one. The water is not there. Drought forces Las Vegas to draw from deeper within Lake Mead. And Lake Mead is going down as they're sucking the river. Not good news. And of course, the largest U.S. wildfire rages out of control in New Mexico. If you watched any news for the last 3 years, we've seen some of the most horrific fires, forest fires, that we've ever seen before, and they're continuing. These are all signs from the Lord. Severe storms rock central U.S. while wildfires burn the West. Over and over again, we're seeing the signs of the last days. And what I'm giving to you now is just the tip of the iceberg. I can't give you all of the prophecies that are taking place that Jesus mentions in Matthew 24, all in one segment here. But if you keep coming and you watch my videos, or you go to my website and you see those posts, and you see the documentation almost every single day of these things taking place, you should ask yourself this: if I haven't received Jesus Christ as my Savior, and I'm seeing all of these things that He said were going to take place, maybe you should consider accepting Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. And I'm going to go one step further. I'm showing you all of this information. So eliminate the maybe. The only person who wants your mind to stay in that frame, the maybe frame, is Satan alone, because he doesn't want you to receive the truth. He wants to put the blinders on you. And for so many people, that's what's happening on a daily basis. Jesus wants you in heaven. He wants you to believe what He has given to us for these last days. He's given us all the proof. We're seeing it almost for word now in the news, almost on a weekly basis. All of the signs taking place in one single generation. And that's the one you're in. You know, I put up this picture. I said, thank you for allowing me to help you keep on the watch. And I mean that. I have some followers that, they email me and they send me articles, and I definitely appreciate all that you're helping me to do to keep all these people informed about these last days that we're in. If you don't believe anything that I've shown you today, all I would ask of you is this. Try to remember what you heard here and what you saw today, because the day will come, I'm convinced, because the prophet Isaiah showed us that when we say things and it goes forth, the Lord is going to do whatever he wants to do with that information that we imparted to you. So sooner or later down the line, you're going to remember what you saw here today. And I'm hoping that you receive Jesus Christ today and not have to face the Antichrist, rather than go through the tribulation and then remember, oh yeah, I remember when Pastor DeMore talked about this, and here I am in the middle of the tribulation period facing the Antichrist and his mark that he's going to force you to take so that you can eat, buy, and sell and do anything in his economy. Today is the day of salvation. Don't wait. God bless you all. Please subscribe to my channel. Go over to my website, subscribe there, and walk with me as we watch the signs showing us our redemption draws nigh, just like Jesus Christ said. God bless.